Well, ladies and gentlemen, my team is back. Yes, we're here once more in Bahrain for pre-season testing for Season 3 of the My Team career mode. No dramatic rule changes this year, and I think that carries over to the driver transfer window, as while there are a lot of teams not wanting to make a big risk, of course, rumours are that Season 4, there is going to be a big reshuffle once more then. But let's get back in then with all the winter testing news. Mercedes, now 9-time Formula 1 World Champions. They're looking pretty comfortable as we head into Season 3. Lewis Hamilton, like we said, obviously, of course, now a 9-time Formula 1 World Champion, as well, that actually was rather vocal about trying to keep Yuki Tsunoda with the team ready for Season 3 there. So rather surprised, yeah, we honestly thought that Mercedes were going to try and have a look at maybe George Russell, maybe someone else as well. You know, actually, they were eyeing up a couple of the drivers that we were really looking into ready for Season 3 as well there. But Yuki Tsunoda seemed to come on strong towards the end of the year, of course, almost won the finale back in Abu Dhabi just a couple of weekends ago. But of course, yeah, didn't quite manage to do that. McLaren, yeah, really built up a strong race car by the end of the year there. But of course, they'll be going for world titles number 10 for, of course, Mercedes and Lewis Hamilton, respectively there. They're, like we said, no major rule changes heading into Season 3 does mean they are still definitely the team to beat. They didn't have it all their own way last year, but were comfortably week in, week out, always there or thereabouts. And obviously having Hamilton on your team as well is always a good sign here in the world of Formula 1 as well. They're obviously McLaren, yeah, really started to push him hard towards the end of the year, but quite a few mistakes from both of their drivers did mean that at one point the gap in the Constructors' Championship was down to 9 points with just a few races to go. But Mercedes came back on strong in the final few races. Hamilton wrapped up the world title, and then it was just a matter of races before Mercedes did the same there once again. So yeah, 10 championships in a row for Mercedes would be an absolutely ridiculous feat, but certainly looks possible here as we dive into Season 3 there. We, of course, move on, though, to McLaren. Again, 2 years running now, they finished second in the Constructors' Championship. It has been a very strong return to the McLaren-Mercedes partnership there as well. Of course, rumours are Mercedes are sort of just trying to keep it arm's width as well. But yeah, McLaren have certainly now got a very fast race car, and arguably one of the strongest lineups as well in the My Team series. It was often both Lando Norris and Daniel Ricciardo there that were right with Lewis Hamilton, really pushing him to the bitter end of a lot of Grand Prix. And of course, the 1-2 late on at the end of the season in Abu Dhabi as well certainly meant as we head into Season 3, they have staked their claim as well at the front of the field. Of course, they'll be looking to try and go one step better this year. Like we said, probably have got one of the best lineups on the grid as well there. And of course, yeah, we'll certainly be excited to see what the Australian of Daniel Ricciardo can do as well. Rumours are he is looking to retire in the near future, but he still has that desire to wrap up at least one Formula 1 World Championship. And of course, the real question is who will be the man to end Lewis Hamilton's dominance in Formula 1 over the entirety of the last decade as well. Will it be Daniel Ricciardo? Will it be Lando Norris? Of course, they traded that P2 at the end of last season so many times. It was Lando, though, who just got the jump on Daniel Ricciardo at the end of the year there, despite, of course, Ricciardo's win at the season finale Abu Dhabi Grand Prix as well there. But, you know, Lando Norris is getting quicker and quicker as each and every season goes, but Daniel Ricciardo is still getting more and more confident with the McLaren as well there. Of course, not really the new boy in the team anymore in his third season with the Stoke, or Woking-based squad even, sorry, I should say, as well there. Moving on, though, to team number 3, of course, Ferrari, the Scarlet Red team once more there. Again, have stuck with their driver lineup from Season 2. Again, probably one of, it's either them or McLaren, yeah, that have really got the strongest current pairing in Formula 1 there. Carlos Sainz and Charles Leclerc really did give Ferrari a bit of a resurgence of form after a good turnaround during Season 1 of this career mode there to finish comfortably in P3 there. There was a big threat from Aston Martin and Red Bull that just never really came over the course of the year there. And of course, Ferrari finished Season 1 so strong, didn't quite have that raw pace to win as often during Season 2 there, but certainly took all the opportunities they could and were very consistent over the course of the year as well there. Of course, Charles Leclerc still the golden boy down at Maranello, and of course, Carlos Sainz has really settled in with the team rather well, and has actually, yeah, again, been pushing Charles Leclerc a lot harder than I think a lot of people thought we would over the course of last season. Had quite a few reliability issues, though. Of course, all the Ferrari power units, once more, they had quite a few reliability issues over the course of the year. But Carlos Sainz, yes, certainly in the late stages of the campaign, had a couple of retirements, a couple of massive grid penalties as well. That means he wasn't quite able to capitalise and did end up finishing P9 in the Drivers' World Championship as well, though, and I think he was hoping to sort of finish P5 or P6 there and really try and hang on with his teammate Charles Leclerc. When things went right for Carlos Sainz, he was certainly right on the pace, but Charles Leclerc, yeah, just had a bit better luck over the course of the year there, but I'm sure Ferrari will be looking to see if they can close up the gap to McLaren and Mercedes as well as we head into Season 3. Performance on paper looks good as we head into the new year. The likes of Ferrari and a couple of other teams that we'll get into seem to have made some good strides from the end of last year as well, but of course only time will tell. Aston Martin then, team number 4, of course, 4th place last year in the Constructors' World Championship. Of course, Lance Stroll and George Russell was a rather surprisingly close lineup over the course of the year there. Of course, Lance Stroll settled in with the team that used to be Force India there. George Russell, in his first season with the team, really got to grips with the car nice and quickly, but they traded places all season long and were both able to get the jump on Carlos Sainz and myself later on in the year when Aston Martin kind of came on a bit strong. At one point had the second fastest car on paper towards the end of the year there, but they kind of slipped back towards this huge cluster in sort of fighting behind the Mercedes of Lewis Hamilton towards the end of the year there. Almost, of course, George Russell almost took his first ever race victory there, going from 7th to 2nd on the final lap of the Mexican Grand Prix there, and what was one of the most carnage-full races that we've ever seen on the channel. But it wasn't quite good enough there, of course. Their one win still remains as Lance Stroll's from the French Grand Prix all the way back in Season 1. Of course, almost did it again in Season 2, though. Hamilton just about got the better of him late on in that Grand Prix. Again, a bit like Ferrari, Aston Martin this year are looking to really try and close up the gap to McLaren and Mercedes as well there. Of course, Aston Martin there, with the exception of Williams, yeah, rather weirdly, the weakest of the Mercedes-powered cars there, and still finished P4 at the end of the year there, of course, with a much, much bigger budget than we have from Williams, who are, of course, much, much further down the order as well there. But, of course, Stroll and George Russell staying with the team for another year. Both of those guys seem comfortable. Unfortunately, yeah, we couldn't quite poach George Russell away from the roster there as well. There was some rumours about Lance Stroll joining us, but I think he's pretty nestled in at the team as well there. Moving on though, one of the biggest disappointments from last season, of course, was Red Bull there. After losing out to McLaren late on in Season 1, they simply just didn't have a car quick enough over the course of last year there. Verstappen dragged everything he could out of it, but it was really Sergio Perez who just didn't pull his weight in the other side of the team there. Of course, Red Bull, often known as a team that are just willing to get rid of drivers and try something new, but this time around, no, they've kept Max Verstappen and Sergio Perez. They're citing that they believe this year's car, with a few more tweaks and upgrades, should suit both their drivers a whole lot better there. Of course, Perez had that double DNF at the Mexican and then Brazilian Grand Prix later on in the year, but just never really was on the pace of his teammate. And obviously when we saw the likes of Ferrari, McLaren, Aston Martin, and at times TwoTwo Motorsports as well, that it really did mean, yeah, Sergio Perez was left to pick up the scraps more often than not over the course of the year. But he's been putting a lot of hard work in behind the scenes over the winter break as well, that he knows, this season might well be his last in Formula 1 as well, and I'm sure he wants to try and bring Red Bull back to fighting form at the front of the field there. Of course, in both seasons of my team so far, Red Bull's still yet to win a Grand Prix, of course, as well, so we're waiting to see when they can finally taste the champagne once more on the top step of the podium. It might be Season 3. Pre-season figures don't look brilliant, though, for Red Bull so far, but like we said, they've got a big upgrade path over the course of the year, so I'm sure we're going to see them trying to move forward and up the order as well. But P5 at the end of last year, yeah, certainly was a bit of a disappointment, but we always know Red Bull, when they fall down, they seem to bounce back up. Whenever they fall, they seem to land on a trampoline and really move their way back up the roster as well. Their team number 6, though, of course, is 212 Motorsport, and drama during the off-season. Of course, we ran the driver vote at the end of last year there to decide who you guys wanted to be our teammate for the new year, and with about 35% of the vote, it was Valtteri Bottas. However, going into contract negotiations with him, he simply wasn't interested. He wanted a team that finished 5th last year in the championship. Of course, Williams didn't manage that either, but yeah, George Russell sticking with Aston Martin, then not wanting to go back to Williams, of course. Valtteri Bottas, very, very happy to stick with the team as well there. So unfortunately for some of you guys, and very, very fortunately for others, we then managed to get in touch with the second most voted for driver at the end of last season, and that was to bring back the 2009 Formula 1 World Champion. Yes, Jenson Button rejoins Formula 1 on a one-year deal with 212 Motorsport. They're a fan of the owner-driver's squad, and of course a British-based team as well. They're looking to try and move their way up the order. All of Jensen's experience surely is going to be very, very helpful for us, as up to this point we've only had a couple of F2 rookies as well there. Schwartzman, though, I'm happy to confirm, has been able to keep a seat for this year. Of course, not with 212 Motorsport as a reserve driver or anything like that. But yeah, very, very excited to see what Jenson Button can do with the team as well. Of course, we have signed our second of our 2-year deal with Renault as well. There are still rumours about whether we're going to go to Ferrari power or Honda power ready for Season 4 just yet, but we'll have to wait and see about that. But JB with 2-2 Motorsport, a fetching new Shadow livery for winter testing the first couple of Grand Prix as we look to try and get more sponsors on the car as well there. Team number 7 though, of course, AlphaTauri. Again, a pretty quiet year for AlphaTauri there. Just kind of fell towards the back markers, made a bit of progress late on in the year, but they were desperate to keep hold of Pierre Gasly as well there. Of course, had Jenson Button not got voted in second, Gasly would have probably made the move to 2-2 Motorsport there, and it's been an absolute weapon in that AlphaTauri. It was the 9th fastest car at one point, and he was still able to score top 5s and top 6s, and is currently 92 rated on F1 2021 as well there. He has been absolutely flying so far on this game, and it has been brilliant to see. They've kept him with Guan Yu Zhou, though, down at AlphaTauri as they look to try and move themselves at least back up into the midfield scrap over the course of 2021 Season 3 here. Guan Yu Zhou had a very, very quiet opening campaign with the team, but of course AlphaTauri, known obviously as the Red Bull Junior team, are wanting to give their drivers a little bit of time as they try and find their feet in the world of Formula 1 there. But surely, by the end of the year, Gasly will either be coming to us or go into another organisation as well. But yeah, so far, not much movement up and down the order. Like we said, it was really just a lot of the back market teams that have sort of shuffled around their rosters as well there. So, of course, we will dive into that in just a moment as well there. But yeah, AlphaTauri on paper don't seem to have made as much progress as I think they would have hoped for, but I'm sure, just like Red Bull, of course, we will be seeing them make some big upgrades over the course of the year there to really sort of see what Pierre Gasly can do in hopefully a car that can try and at least fight for points a bit more consistently with both of their drivers. Team number 8 though, and we finally do get into a few more of the roster moves. Of course, Fernando Alonso at the end of last year, did confirm very, very late on actually that he would be leaving Alpine at the end of the year. Of course, Esteban Ocon signed on quite a long-term deal. Maybe, just maybe, he'll be leaving the team at the end of this year as well though, but they've actually signed. They've gone with the Russian money. Nikita Mazepin has joined Alpine there, and one of the oddest moves, I think, ready for Season 3 of the My Team career mode there. I don't think many of us were calling that one. I honestly thought they were going to try and pick up Guan Yu Zhou or Oscar Piastri from F2 there, but apparently not. They clearly needed the money from Nikita Mazepin there, of course. Alpine, maybe, yeah, don't. Renault, perhaps not so willing to put as much money behind the team as well. And, of course, Nikita Mazepin's dad looking to try and get him a seat higher up in the world of Formula 1 there as well. If he can put a good stake into the Alpine squad, I'm sure they'll be happy to keep him around for a couple of years as well. That Alpine had a very, very difficult season. Of course, that one race victory at the Mexican Grand Prix for Esteban Ocon, a massive, massive surprise there, but certainly exactly what the team needed to lift their spirits there. And P7 at the end of the day, ultimately, they just didn't have the pace to battle with AlphaTauri week in, week out. They're mainly down to just how good Pierre Gasly was over the course of the year as well there. And whether we're going to see that now with Mazepin in the team, we'll have to wait and see. I mean, Fernando Alonso, a 2-time Formula 1 world champion, is a bit of an upgrade from Nikita Mazepin, the spin master himself, at this stage of the campaign. But you never know. Sometimes we've seen some weird roster moves that have worked. Of course, Luca Giotto going to Mercedes back on F1 2020 there and winning his very first race in Formula 1. Of course, I'm sure is one that will stick with a lot of you guys that have been around the channel for a little bit longer there. But of course, team number 9 then, we have of course got Williams. Like we said, Valtteri Bottas desperate to stick with the team, really felt like he made good progress with them, and of course that mega result at the Mexican Grand Prix last year, pretty much the deal was signed after that weekend there. Bottas feeling comfortable, really getting everything out of that Williams week in, week out there, and of course after losing George Russell to Aston Martin last year there, Williams could really do with a man that knows what he's doing. He's fought at the front of Formula 1 as well in the past, and obviously we so desperately want to see Williams fighting for points week in, week out as well next year. Their 25 points though at the end of last season was a mega result for Williams as well there. And again, like we said, it really is good to see that they're doing so well, fighting their way back up the order as well there. It does seem on paper like they could be battling AlphaTauri and Alpine as well over the course of the year there. It does seem like they have sort of left Alfa Romeo and Haas behind them as well there. And of course, if Bottas can keep doing some of the mega qualifying laps we saw from him over the course of last year as well, we'll have to wait and see whether that does come to fruition as well there. But, you know, Bottas as well, I'm sure he'll still be in the running for a Season 4 seat with 2-2 Motorsport as well, of course. He is getting on though, maybe, just maybe, Bottas might be looking at retirement down the line as well. His Formula 1 career, of course, never quite saw the same success as I think a lot of people had predicted there. Of course, that heartbreak all the way back now in Season 1. Long behind the fin, but I'm sure it's still in the back of his mind as well. But yeah, Williams sticking with their lineup of Bottas and Latifi for another year. Of course, Latifi still bringing a lot of money to the team as well there, and they're seemingly happy to keep him, so we're not going to knock them back all too much as well. Their team number 10, though, of course, Alfa Romeo, a team again that has really struggled. Of course, losing Kimi Räikkönen at the end of Season 1 was kind of just the absolute key to the puzzle that was Alfa Romeo over the course of the first season there. They have kept their lineup, though, from Season 2 of Antonio Giovinazzi and Christian Lundgaard there, and a rather surprising move, actually, from Alfa Romeo. I honestly thought they'd be looking at trying to get rid of Lundgaard and bringing in a new rookie there, but of course, Giovinazzi as well. There's rumours about whether Ferrari are going to continue trying to keep Giovinazzi in that seat as well down the line, but, I mean, he's getting on now. What's he, 28, 29 in this alternate universe there? He certainly isn't a young driver by any stretch of the imagination, and never really has that wow factor in the real world of Formula 1 either there. I'll be honest, in real life Formula 1, I often forget he's even there. Of course, the Belgian Grand Prix this weekend never actually finished in Belgium as well, so we might see where he's going to bin it this weekend as well. But yeah, Alfa Romeo just haven't quite had the same momentum and progress that they'd hoped for. Of course, Season 1 they made some good gains, but since then dropping back behind TwoTwo Motorsports and Williams, and not really able to match Alpine and AlphaTauri as well. There has been a tough testing couple of years for them, and of course I think they're a bit like us, sort of waiting for a major rule change as well there. And of course Giovinazzi and Lundgaard, arguably one of the weakest rosters on the grid as well. There is really difficult to see for those guys as well. Of course, they they need that big name driver, that star driver, someone like a Valtteri Bottas to come in and really try and be relied on when they need it as well. Their team number 11 though, and of course finally scoring their first points of the My Team series late on last year in the Mexican Grand Prix. They have lost Nikita Mazepin, of course, to Alpine, so they've actually gone with the 2019 Prema F2 lineup. Schwartzman has gone to Haas to join his ex-teammate Mick Schumacher as well there, and what now is hopefully an exciting roster with just a little bit more firepower than we've seen in the past as well there. Of course, like we said, every team last year able to score points, which I'm sure was a huge uplift for Haas, of course, after they went pointless during 2021 Season 1 as well there. Of course, they're still very happy with Mick Schumacher in the car there, and of course swapping out one Russian money for another there, of course, with Schwartzman joining the roster as well. There is certainly an exciting young lineup, but again, just doesn't really sort of lack that experience that maybe Haas need to try and steer the team in a good direction at this stage of the campaign there. But we'll wait and see what they can do as we head into Season 3. Winter testing doesn't look particularly great though for the American-based squad, of course. Doesn't really feel like a lot of the upgrades they'd had planned, sort of, I think, again, a bit like Alfa Romeo and ourselves, they were really banking on some major rule changes for Season 3, so they might have already sort of called this season a bit of a write-off, like we've seen in real life in 2021 as well there. But you never know, Haas might come out of the gate swinging in the first few races of the year, that they might find some upgrades, and yeah, really move the car forward over the course of the year there. It would be nice to see them battling for points. Really, at the end of the day, I want to see everyone battling for points if we possibly can there. But certainly excited to see who will come out on top between Schwartzman and Mick Schumacher as well. They're nice to see, of course, Schwartzman able to keep a seat in Formula 1 after we let him go at the end of last year there. But there we go then. All the driver news ready for Season 3. Of course, only one new driver coming in, Jenson Button in, and Fernando Alonso leaving the sport there as well. So no F2 rookies moving up into the world of Formula 1 ready for this season. But I think, to be honest, I reckon we're going to see some mid-season driver transfers as well during this season. Let me know your thoughts down below. Which teams you think are going to be strong? Who you guys believe could potentially wrap up the World Championship as well. But thank you all so much for watching this video. Round 1 here in Sakira, of course, will be live tomorrow as well. So if you aren't already, make sure you leave a like, get yourself subscribed, click that bell notification icon as well so you don't miss out on any future uploads. And yeah, we'll be back tomorrow ready for Bahrain. A massive thank you for the continued support from our channel members, featuring The Travesty, Patrick, Chuan, David, Ben, Aiden, Eustathios, Kato and Sean for their continued support on the channel. None of the videos would be possible without their support, and if you want to be featured in these clips, make sure you click the join button below.